Hello and welcome back to another Starcraft 2 commentary video with Gum Jabbar. This is going to be another Protoss vs Terran game between LiquidHuk and RGI Fury. And this is played on the map GSL Crevasse. Or is it Crossfire? No, this is Crossfire. Alright, never mind. Moving right along, we've got this map is a two-player map, and if you ever watch a lot of pro games on this, then you know that Terrans just love to do a tank all-in type of thing. Even Thorzane's done a Thor all-in on this map. Mech is just pretty strong because of these tight corridors. It's all very, very thin and narrow. So what we're going to look at today is how to stop this one base Marine tank all-in and variations of it. And we're going to see LiquidHuk hold off this attack while expanding and make it look really, really easy. So let's take a look at what Huk sees. So far he's just harassing some probies. We do want to look for that gas. Notice that there's it's 13, there's the gas going down. We do spot that. And Huk, of course, has the most annoying probe in the game. And he's just going to keep that alive for as long as this Marine is not out yet. Meanwhile, back at base, we've got gas and gateway going down. Nothing spectacular to note. Huk sees no second gas yet. Marine is going to be popping out soon. Huk's still suffering only one hit point of damage on this probe, and he is going to get out of here right before the Marine comes up. We have our core. Notice Huk is not taking a second gas on 18. Which would be the standard timing if you're going for a fast sentry or something like that. And he is making the Zealot first, and he's going to chrono boost a Stalker after that. Bit of an interesting early game play here. He's going to be really aggressive with this Zealot. Terran, on the other hand, is still on one gas and now making the factory. The second gas seems a bit late and it's kind of odd, but you know what, this is how the build is working out for Terran. We're not looking at the Terran build. Reactor going down. This is a key thing here. I mean, if you see a reactor on that barracks, and Huk is actually going to get an SCV and a Marine kill with that Zealot, so pretty worth it. But yeah, if you see this early reactor with the gas, then you know he's going to be spending his gas on something other than Marines, which means a factory. And in this case, we're going to be seeing a quick starport as well. And Huk is just poking around here. One Hellion coming out, and when you see this Hellion, which he will spot very shortly. Here's the Hellion. Huk knows that the factory did not get a quick add-on, and typically when you're going for a fast starport, you're going to be going, you're going to be making that Hellion first, just because you can. You can make the Hellion and make a tech lab in the time it takes this starport to build, and a lot of players will make that Hellion just for scouting, because you can squeeze it in. And the Hellion will be doing a good scouting job. Meanwhile, Huk throwing down quick robo and then additional gateways. And this is because he knows that the tech is there, and he does want that observer. As I said in my last couple of videos, the fast robo play against Terran isn't necessary in a lot of the cases, but this is one case where Terran's doing fast tech that you definitely need it. And we can see that he's going for Banshees. He has a tech lab on this factory. He's getting tanks. When you scout a tech lab on the factory this early, then that's... I mean, it's definitely tanks. And this is basically all in. Of course, Terran can expand behind it, but Huck is expanding first, and Terran's resigned himself to being behind economically, unless he does a lot of damage and potentially kills the Nexus with his push. So I would kind of label that as sort of all in. Here's the next observer. Huck doesn't know if Cloaked Banshees are coming. As a matter of fact, we know that RGI Fury is not getting Cloak. He wants those Banshees as part of his army. Huck, meanwhile, has a lot of map control here. He's got Stalkers at the Watchtower. He has this observer. He sees at the tanks and Marines. And he knows pretty much what's coming. Now we do have a Banshee doing a little bit of damage. Not terribly effective, though. Fury really wants to keep this Banshee alive so he can use it as part of his army. Now he's getting siege mode. Sometimes with this push you won't get siege mode, but personally I think that's kind of inferior to the siege mode variation. Huck is taking this expansion. A little bit down in supply, naturally, because he did sink 400 minerals into this. Now we're going to look at the probe count. We have about even, we're about even in probes, but Huck is actually ahead in income. He's actually down 2 probes and he's ahead in income. Why is this? Because he has this expansion, his probes are mining more efficiently. He has slightly more than 1 base saturation. 29 probes is a little more. So this is actually, we're actually going to pause right here because this is really important to note. Huck has totally cut probes at 29. He is even with the Terran in probes, but he has the higher income. And any further probe production will actually just be dangerous, because it's going to cut into his money. So we look at what Huck has. He has 3 gateways and a robo. And he's just making immortals, making a few zealots, a few stalkers. Now we look at Terran. Oh my god, scary push. You've probably experienced this on the ladder where you're like, oh, holy crap, this is impossible. Huck has so few units, what is he gonna do? Here's a few more stalkers, actually. I missed that. That's a lot of stalkers. Anyway, I mean, in comparison, though, Terran is ahead in the army, and he has siege mode. So here's what we're going to do. There's a Raven, so Huck does not know that this push is necessarily right here. He just now spots it with his observer. Let's see what he does. We got 2 tanks, some SCVs, a Raven, and a Banshee. Huck is going to force field all the Marines away from the tanks. Make sure that the Marines die. He is focusing the Marines, using the Immortals to attack the tanks specifically. And that's it. Let's look at that again, because that's really one-sided. I mean, wow, that's one-sided. So here comes the push. Huck is just making Immortals, Stalkers, and a couple of Zealots. He only has 4 sentries. He has totally cut probes, despite having a slightly higher income. And here we go. He's going to force field all the Marines away from the tanks, because once these Marines die, the tanks are actually not going to be able to do much. Tanks without any support just get destroyed by everything. And that's it. That's GG. Wow, that was really easy. So, one more time, we're going to look at this. Let's slow it down a little bit to normal speed. Here comes the push. You're attacking into it before it sieges. That's another key thing here. All the Marines are separated. We kill them. And the game is easy. Now notice, the Immortals are target firing these tanks. You've got to focus the tanks. If your Immortals are hitting Marines, they're a complete waste of money. And Immortals, by the way, do 50 damage versus Armored, which tanks happen to be. So, pretty important to note there. And finally, let's say that Terran had been, a little bit safer, kept his Marines back from the tanks, or, with the tanks. In that case, you have to Guardian Shield, first of all. But you can still Force Field behind the Marines, so they can't run backward, and then just advance on the tanks. Attack, move up, attack, move up. And with Guardian Shield, the Marines are a bit less effective. And you can focus fire the tanks, and then he's just left with Marines, and again, you're fine. The dangerous thing about this push is not the tanks or the Marines, it's both together. Because the Marines buffer for the tanks add a ton of range and DPS and splash to the Marines. So if you can eliminate one pretty quickly, then that's all you really need to do. So if the Marines are too far back to isolate them, you can take out the tanks and focus fire them. If the Marines are too far forward, you just Force Field behind them and take out the Marines. And this works also because Terran was not sieged before the battle began, and Huk specifically did this. He had this observer, he knew the tanks weren't sieged, and he attacked right into this choke point with all of his army. The tanks only barely had enough time for like one shot sieged before they died. And this defense is super easy. It's 2 base versus 1 base. Terran has to quit. Some Terrans, of course, will continue to build. He does have an economy here. He didn't go super all in, and sometimes they will send another wave at you, but it's not necessary. If we see that, we can keep not building probes, and just our army is huge. So that's going to be a quick game today. Hopefully this will help you out dealing with these kinds of pushes. You have to engage properly at the right time before he sieges. You have to isolate the Marines or focus fire the tanks. One before the other. Obviously, if you're engaging both at once, you want the Immortals to focus fire tanks, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Looks pretty easy. So get out there and stop losing to this kind of annoying all-in. See you guys later.